So welcome, Brian. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Jen Talks 2 and Jen Talks to Brian Pennie today. Brian, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, and thanks for having me here, Jenny. Delighted to be here. So my name is Brian Pennie. And I suppose I always start off the same thing. And I say this, I'm genuinely one of the happiest people I know, if not the happiest person I know. And it's a strange thing to say, having lost 15 years of my life from chronic heroin addiction. So I was a chronic heroin addict from a young age. It came through trauma, and it came from really just anxiety and overthinking. Like I often say that to people, addiction wasn't my issue. It was anxiety and overthinking. And it just drove me towards a life of addiction. So that's where I spent 15 years chronically addicted to heroin. But then in October 8th, 2013, I had what I call, I'll touch on it later on maybe with a few of the tools, but I had what I call a perspective shift in perspective that allowed me to see the world from another perspective. And where I'm going to go with this and some of the tools to deliver it back to that is, so my shift in perspective was around the thinking, that compulsive thinking, the inner critic, that the voices that tormented me my whole life, the stories that I told myself that drove me addiction and that drove my actions towards that. And what happened to me was, with that shift, was that my mind went quiet. And when my mind went quiet, anxiety left me. Now, what that left was a space for me to completely transform my life. I'll touch on now in a second, I've recently written my memoir, which is called Bonus Time. And the reason...
Amazing read, I have to say. I feel like just reading it again. It's just amazing.
Cheers, Danny. Cheers.
Yeah, definitely.
But the reason why I call it that name is because I believe I was given a second chance at life, and I'm living on bonus time. And what bonus time represents for me is I don't worry about, I don't get obsessed with the thoughts, the worrying in my head. I don't compare myself to other people. I take big risks. I laugh at rejection. I dream big and I be bold. And it's all from around this, not getting caught up with the thoughts in our head, because that's what drives our actions. And that's what for me is living on bonus time is. So where I went from there, then you could say I transformed addictions, transforming desires is what we call it in the addiction circle sometimes. But I went to college, I've done a degree in psychology, and then I'm now doing a PhD in Trinity College Dublin. It's in the Institute of Neuroscience, but it's more to do with self-talk, thinking and emotions and mindfulness as well. So I'll be touching on them subjects as well. So just from a credibility perspective as well, I'll be touching on the science maybe too. But I'm a lecturer in UCD teaching the neuroscience of mindfulness, and I'm a lecturer in Trinity teaching the neuroscience of addiction as well. So that's just me credentials there, but it's but it all stemmed from getting out of my head and into my life. And we're going to be touching on anxiety. That's the main idea of this talk today. And the best thing to realize about anxiety is that anxiety comes in many flavors, but they all revolve around the unknown, uncertainty, and fear of the future. Anxiety is your thoughts about the future, which drives your emotions and your feelings. And it's that relationship that can be really, really problematic. And the tools I want to talk about today relate around that.
You know, sorry, I had to be on mute there. I love that line, getting out of your head and into your body. So naturally your addiction was about getting out of your head, but now your new life is about getting out of your head, getting out of that self-talk cycle that we get caught up in so much, that just that ability to just overthink. You know, when we think about the world we live in, there's just so much stimulation. I mean, you know, we can multitask to beat the band. We could be sending emails, cooking dinners, watching a TED talk all at the same time. You know, so the mind is so stimulated all the time. And I suppose one of the benefits of lockdown is that people have slowed down a little bit.
Yeah. And some people, it's really interesting, because I've started saying, people have slowed down, but there's some people that have speeded up as well. Like some people are more anxious, and it's because the mind is speeding up, worried or concerned. And there's genuine fears there as well. Financial insecurities, and people are going, I can't even imagine some of the stuff that's going on behind closed doors. I think a lot of bad stuff will come out. But it's really, it is an opportunity to slow down, and it's really an opportunity for a reboot, to reevaluate ourselves and realize the importance of an inner stillness to bring you that peace of mind.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I would have noticed even from my own work that there is a kind of a wave of anxiety going on at the moment. You know, people have so many concerns. Like you say, anxiety is about the future. And our future is so uncertain from the point of view of, you know, we hear all these rumors, we're going to head into the worst recession ever, and we're going to head, you know, we don't know what's coming down the line, and we don't know what government we're going to have, and what fine, you know, are we going to have to pay back the money? And, you know, there's a whole, I suppose, litany of uncertainties that are going on. And usually what I would say to people is, well, take yourself back to some of your worst times, like the last recession, or the time before that, or even if that you were around for the time before that. We probably all thought that they were going to be the worst recessions we'd ever seen, you know?
This is it.
And yet we're still here today, you know?
This is it. And it's funny, and so the one thing that always comes back to me as well, like it's a really strange time. It's a very surreal kind of time, but things were very problematic before that. Like there was millions of kids starving in the world every night before that. There was horrific things going on in the world. We were destroying the planet. So I think it's really reframe it, look at it as an opportunity, as a reboot. And the more people that take that perspective, the better. Like we touched on anxiety there a few minutes ago, like, and it's really, anxiety is contagious. From an evolutionary perspective, it's purposefully contagious, because let's say we're still operating off the same neural circuitry and the same biological circuitry of our ancestors 3,000 years ago. So if you're in the wild 3,000 years ago and someone hears a rustle and gets anxious, well, you really do want to get anxious as well, because that means there could be danger, and that ensured the survival of the species. So the people that survived are the anxious people. So we are the ancestors of the anxious people. So it's a survival mechanism as well, which makes it okay. And I think that's a great point about anxiety as well. It's okay to be anxious, because it's a very strange situation, and it's okay to be anxious. But to realize that anxiety is also contagious, it's okay, but you can do something about it. And that is really the key piece. There's so many tools out there to deal with anxiety. Like I was chronic anxiety. I suffered with panic attacks. Today, I would say I have a wonderful relationship with anxiety, which is a crazy thing to say, but it's there. It's the tools that I use on a regular basis. Yeah,
so it's not like everything just magically disappears. It's a part of you, but it's how you are more aware of it and how you deal with it. Like you say, your relationship with it. And you know, Brian, you reminded me of something I've really been dying to ask, because people ask me this all the time. You say about anxiety is contagious. So a lot of us are in lockdown at the moment with, you know, different personalities, different dynamics, and whether it's anxiety or it's even just fed upness, you know, even if it's just, you know, boredom, stress, those emotions can be quite magnetic and contagious. So how do you kind of, like, I'd be on the positivity scale, I'd probably be through the roof most of the time, you know, that's my default. And sometimes I can probably be even a bit annoyingly happy. But at the same time, how do you prevent the other people's moods affecting you and dragging you down or upsetting you even?
Yeah, and really, I really have pretty a four-pronged approach, but I'll actually talk about it from a three-pronged approach. And the one thing I do is basically, so if you're around, you could call them difficult people or people that just trigger you. I think that's it. People that trigger you. Whether it's like family members can be very triggering as well, because the history is there as well. So the first thing I would do, and it's the most basic thing, is stop. Now, obviously, we're in lockdown, so you can't get out of the house. Well, get out of the room as much as you can. Don't be triggering you while you're in the kitchen making dinner together and you're getting each other's way. Pick a different time to make the dinner. You don't have to spend time in the same room. You don't have to fight over the remote control. So change your environment and stop pulling the trigger, because your finger's on the trigger, you can actually stop pulling it. So that'd be the first thing I'd say.
Okay, so get yourself out of the environment.
Yeah. And I think the best way, I love describing metaphors, so literally stop pulling that trigger. Yeah,
stop pulling the trigger. I love that too,
Another thing to do, and it's around reframing. So I think this is inversion or reframe. I think reframe is one of the most powerful tools in your locker, because you can do it with anything. So if I'm being triggered by somebody and I can feel that, they're triggering me, I'll just say, right, use this as fuel for growth. I talked about stories earlier on. My story used to be, I cannot cope with anxiety, I need heroin to survive. My new story is, I'm the happiest person I know. Adversity doesn't stop me, it fuels my ability to thrive. Brilliant. So reframe, when I'm triggered by something, that's the adversity, that's the problem, that's the negativity. So I try to reframe it. If it's an individual in the family home, I'll say, right, focus on compassion. How can I be compassionate for that person? How can I practice tolerance in this situation? Use it as an opportunity to practice acceptance. We are in lockdown. There's nothing I can do. Accept the situation for what it is, because it's reality. Like what is. If you, I love that line. I think it's Byron Katie. If you fight with reality, you will suffer. And what we do is we fight with reality. This shouldn't be this isn't fair. And so I think the thing is to reframe it. And the most powerful reframe for people, I think, is it's getting out of your own head. We're all back to getting out of your head. But think of the situation from their perspective. So step into their shoes and say, right, they're worried about this. They're in lockdown too. They might have other troubles. They might be anxious. They might be, if you're using this tool and you're listening to this talk and you're talking frame and positive mental health, it's unlikely if they're triggering you that they have that same tool. They have that repertoire of tools. So think about their perspective. It could be a lack of awareness that they just don't even know about these things. And I think instantly when you step into someone else's shoes, you become more empathetic, and it's just naturally more difficult to be angry towards them. It's just a natural kind of thing. Yeah. So the second one would be reframe. So use it as an opportunity to focus on growth and think about it from that perspective.
And I know you're a huge Eckhart Tolle fan. It just reminded me of a quote. I'm sure I don't have it directly, but something like, the universe will send you exactly what you need to expand your learning in. So if you need to learn tolerance, they'll send you someone that'll keep pressing your buttons. Or if you need to learn patience, that's what will keep showing up for you till you learn the lesson.
This is it. And such great traits to have, like compassion, patience. It's like, there's a great Zen saying, the obstacle doesn't block the path. It is the path. That's the path. So you think you want to get out of this situation? No, don't avoid it. Jump right in, dive right in there, and use it as an opportunity for growth. So I think that's a really important one. But another tool, and this is my own little tool that I use myself, and I got it in Minute, actually. I hope the person isn't listening, but there was a very annoying student in Minute that liked to take over the class. And if we had a weak lecturer, they'd let them take over the class, and the energy of the room would just be, So it was like a trigger. I could feel myself getting triggered, and I was like, I shouldn't be getting triggered by this. I have these tools and all. So what I started doing was, because sometimes you can reframe, you can stop pulling the trigger, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes it just gets to you, and it's just you're triggered.
Especially if it's your button.
Yeah.
And from reading your book, when your button seems to be like you don't like to waste time.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're in this lecture and this time is passing you by, and
this is it, and that's a problem of mine as well. Like I remember, on another thing of that, and I got this off Eckhart Tolle. I remember the one lecture, and the lecture was ridiculously boring, and I realized to myself that I don't even need to be in this class, and I felt myself being triggered. This is a waste of my time. So I was bored. It was a waste of my time. So I went into observer mode, because it was really bothering me, and I started observing the boredom. So I came fully into the present moment and observed the sensations of being bored. And I remember within a minute or so, I'm so happy looking at me boredom. Like I was looking at a curious experiment with myself. So there's all kinds of ways of reframing these things as well. But around the anxiety thing as well with triggering, and this is a great little tool, and it sounds a bit woo-woo and a bit out there. But what I used to do was I imagined the energy of that person, the negative energy, you might call it, triggering me. But then I visualized it as a white beam of light. And instead of coming towards me and hitting me and bouncing off me, I basically visualize it coming towards me, getting brighter as it comes towards me, my body then absorbing that light and then it going out the other side. So I create a representation of the energy that's bothering me. It helps me then to reframe that energy so it just flows through me and doesn't trigger me. And I was astounded by how well this worked.
Yeah, so using visualization to I suppose it distracts your mind in the first place, it changes the perspective, and then the whole idea of the energy passing through you rather than kind of bouncing off you and harming you in a way. I love that one. I'll definitely be trying that.
The funny thing you have to remember as well is, and this is the thing, like she wasn't annoying everyone in the class. She was annoying some people in the class. So really, she's not the problem. The problem is in you, because if the problem was her, she would be annoying everyone in the class, but she's not. So it's something in you that started to happen. And so that's brilliant, because it gives you the power back as well,
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like, this idea that, they made me mad or they made me angry, nobody can put an idea in your head without your permission.
Without your permission, you always have a choice. It might be hard, but you always have a choice. So, what's it? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely.
I robbed off someone else as well. I use that in my talks. I don't know whose quote it is. Could be Brian Pennie as well. Actually.
Come here. I always say that there is no Robin, because it's all out there. It's there since the Greek and ancient times. All this wisdom.
Yeah.
With just different, I suppose, leaders and authors have brought kind of different things together. And
yeah.
All just finding variations of their work to see what works for us. So
Definitely.
Brian, you mentioned as well, I know when we were talking earlier before the interview, you were saying, you know, your non-negotiables in the morning are your meditation and your gym. Anyone that follows me knows just recently since the whole lockdown, I've discovered Qigong, and that's a complete non-negotiable. I would meditate or do breath work daily also. And it's for me, like, kind of have this kind of mantra. Again, this isn't mine. Win your morning, win your day. So, you know, if you can start off as you mean to go on, it just has that domino effect for the rest of the day. So what kind of tips or pointers could you give people, I suppose, particularly in this current environment, that they could put to use that would help benefit them?
Right, and really, so I'd have a very structured morning routine, and if I was to put any single practice down to, for me, being as positive and happy as I am, and joyful, I suppose, well, and energetic, for me, energy is the currency of life, and I think that's the reason I'm always full of energy. I always have energy, and that's one of the reasons why I feel so happy. And it really comes from me morning routine, me morning practice, and it really stems as well around the whole idea of what we're talking about. Like, anxiety lives in the future. It's fear of the future in some form or another. So if you can stop that internal chatter that's revolved around fear of the future, you can reduce your anxiety to some extent. So that's why meditation is so important. So that is a huge part of my morning routine. It's the first part of my morning routine. But I wouldn't be telling anyone in this situation, like, to start a meditation practice. If they're interested in doing it, great. But I wouldn't tell someone that's struggling with anxiety, start a meditation practice, a rigid meditation practice. It's too much. It's too big an ask.
Yeah.
What meditation is at its essence is bringing you in. It's focusing. It's noticing something in the present moment, non-judgmentally. We won't even go into it. It's just noticing.
Yeah.
So as I said that, I'm noticing my voice. I'm noticing my hands moving there. I'm being mindful of that. That's what mindfulness is. Let's talk about mindfulness meditation. So it's the art of noticing things in the present moment. And if you're noticing things in the present moment, you're not in the future. That's the essence of it. That's really what it is. Now, your mind will wander, and that's what the mind does. It will wander. But the essence of meditation is not being all zen in a room for 20 minutes or an hour. That's what people think. It's the art of catching yourself in unawareness and bringing it back, whether it's the breath or whatever it is. Yeah. Now, what I would ask people to do, I'm going to talk about another few little tools of my morning routine as well, if people aren't big on the meditation. But what I would ask people to do is an idea called habit stacking. Now, habit stacking is just associative learning. It's associating one behavior with another behavior. So what I would say to people is, right, you brush your teeth, you wash your hands, you have a cup of coffee. So why not do that mindfully? I mindfully brush my teeth every single morning. So I stack a new habit, mindfulness, onto an existing habit. It's 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes in the night, 6 minutes meditation a day. We're all washing our hands 10 times a day, whatever it is. Mindfully wash your hands. And it's literally notice the water on your hands. Notice the soap. Feel your hands rubbing off each other. The mind will wander, but you bring it back. That's the art of practice. Same with the brushing your teeth. And every time you have a coffee, just sit down and take a few deep breaths and try to relate having it. I know coffee isn't ideal because it's a stimulant, but if you're going to have coffee or tea every day, it's the stacking the habits to give you a primer and a reminder. And it's like what you said, Jenny, really, that's what the morning routine is all about. It's priming you for the day. It really is. And if people aren't into the meditation side of things, I was only chatting to a friend there the other day, like, do 2 minutes. Like, 2 minutes is not much to ask. Do a minute of visualization and a minute of gratitude.
Yes.
Like, gratitude is one of the most powerful practices. Like, I always say that you can't be jealous, you can't be angry, you can't be afraid while you're being grateful. So focus on things you're grateful for, memories you've had. Kids are great, pets are great, these kinds of things. So try to go deep and really, really feel it.
Yes.
Visualize your future. And these things start to fire the neural circuitry, and you are actually biologically priming your brain for positivity. You are releasing dopamine by being grateful, by visualizing positive things. And that is the power of these things. They are grounded in biology, and you're priming yourself for the day.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. And that sounds similar. Like, although we talk about gratitude, sometimes what happens with gratitude is people have like a gratitude journal, and they write down, like, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for all my teeth, you know, but there's no other level to it. So I would call it savoring. So if you can just bring yourself back, or, you know, bring yourself into the present moment and savor something in your life that you're grateful for. So revisit it in your mind. Maybe if you can, bring in imagery, depending on whether that's easy for you, or emotion. And if you can linger there, and you know, I always say to my students, I don't know how to linger and count. So just linger for as long as you can till the world goes away. And that in itself is going to set your sail in the right direction for the day.
Definitely, definitely. And what I tend to do, so and if you have a gratitude list, great. If it works for you, brilliant.
Absolutely.
It was a tick box kind of thing. So what I would say to people is pick one thing and go deep. I always pick my nephew and my little nephews. I wouldn't be in their lives. You read the book, so I bring them into the end of the book. And like even now, it's priming me of the little trip we had up the mountain, and we had a great laugh at the sugar loaf that day. So I would say I'm grateful for the joy that my nephews bring into my life. I'm grateful for the joy that they bring into my parents' life when they mind them on the Monday and Tuesday, or over Zoom having laughs. And you'll start visualizing that. You'll go deep on one particular thing. And it's a way to really, and I think the key thing is like the lingering that you say, Jenny, is feel. Don't just name it, feel it, see it, believe it, like really, really let it seep into your soul.
Yeah, seep into your soul, Yeah, that's powerful, because we forget that we have so many things to be grateful for, you know, because like you say, our default wiring is to be, you know, negative as opposed to positive. And of course we need negative thoughts as well, but it's just, we can kind of, especially if we're trying to keep our perspective in the focus of positive and solution focused rather than the worry and the anxiety taking over the show, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And Brian, I wanted to ask you, I recently liked your page, Change is Possible. Isn't that your mantra on your website?
That's my mantra. That's my tagline,
Tagline, change possible. I love that. Change is possible. And it's always possible. And you know, possible, because it's always, nothing ever stays the same. That's a positive and then a negative. It makes us appreciate the good times when we're there, because they mightn't be there tomorrow, like the weather. Or in the mud, you know, it mightn't be like that tomorrow. We're gifted another day, thankfully. And I know you do a lot of public speaking. Do you run any courses, and if you run them online, you know, that people can access your work?
Can access that? It's funny you mention that, Jenny. So since lockdown happened, I do a lot of Insta Lives, and I'm doing every Thursday night now. I'm doing a free seminar, a free webinar. And I'm really just randomly picking topics. Like I've done self-talk, I've done motivation, decision-making. What was the first one? I can't even remember what the first one was.
I love the decision-making one, I have to say.
Yeah,
I use that, if it's not a hell yeah.
It's a no. It's brilliant, isn't it? Derek Sivers.
I was trying to think of something and I said, it doesn't feel like a hell yeah. So
And there's the thing about being bold and reaching out. So that's Derek Sivers. I'm a huge fan of his. He's an American guy. He was on the Tim Ferriss podcast. So I reached out to Derek, and I keep saying, I hope it's not a hell no. And he says, right, you're nearly there. So I'm getting an interview. I'm not close to getting the interview off. And I'm nearly going to laugh about the hell yeah no. And it's just have a laugh with this stuff. Like take a chance, reach out to people, ask people for help, and you'll be surprised who will come back to help.
Yeah, and I mean, your book inspired me to contact you. And of course, my initial reaction was, well, what would Brian Pennie want to be talking to you for, Jenny? And then I was like, well, do you know what? I'm going to be brave and daring and ask him. And if he says no, that's okay too. You know, because people are.
Yeah, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
I love it. That's
the fact that I got that off Amy Huberman. So I reached out to Amy Huberman for an interview, and I remember saying thanks for that. And I think she actually said to me, if you don't ask, the answer's always no. And it just,
I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
To remember people to just be brave. Sure, like it's not like no is going to kill us to hear no. No, it's that vulnerability.
And do you know what's a key thing? And I haven't thought about this in a while, Jenny. Is this whole idea of change being possible, right? But it's also inevitable. Because if you think back to sort of Eckhart Tolle thinking as well, like all we ever have is the present moment. This moment us chatting right now is all that exists. You will never smell the future or taste the past. The past happened, and you can only remember it in the moment as a memory trace in your brain. The future will only happen in the now when that time comes. It can be a projection of your mind, which is just going to probably come.
It's not a reality.
So the present moment is all we ever have. And the present moment is always changing. So if you don't like change, you don't really like life, because that's where we really exist. So it's the idea is embrace change, embrace life, and just go with it. Sometimes just go with the flow and surrender to what life is given, because paradoxically, if you surrender to that, you have more control. It's a crazy way, because you're more in the moment, you're more in touch, you've less fear, and it just makes life that much easier.
Yeah, yeah, I love that perspective on it. So you've Instagram talks on a Thursday evening. So I know you've one coming up this Thursday.
I've one coming up this Thursday, and that's about addiction. It's the face of addiction, and it's going to be on trauma and stuff as well. So back,
Yes.
I got your question actually about the course. So what I am planning on doing now, I'm going to actually design a course, because loads of people are asking me about a structured course. So I've actually, what I designed for, so my memoir is about my life, but what I wrote about a little bit in that memoir was my program for life that I described. So I had a bit of a relapse in 2015. It was a mini relapse. I don't know what a mini relapse even is, but I started messing around with Solpadeine when I had the flu, and I started in unawareness taking a lot of Solpadeine, a lot of Nurofen. I
Yeah.
used the Zopiclone sleeping tablet on me auntie at Christmas, and I just started to ignore it. It was crazy. It was like I had a relapse and just ignored it. And I remember I lost that beautiful life feeling that I was gifted in detox when I had that perspective shift, and that I lost it in unawareness scared the life out of me. So in 2015, when I was in Minute, I was going to leave, but I decided to stay on advice from someone else. But I doubled down on my mental and emotional health, and I became a student of life. And I designed this program to navigate my life. There's probably 200 tools in this program.
Brilliant.
I am going to develop a course around that. So very foundational spiritual principles. Then the next foundation built on top of that will be around values and the principles, how we operate within life. And then all the tools, tactics, habits, and routines on top of that as well. So I will be doing that. I think the best way for people to reach me would be going to the website. So www.brianpennie.com, PENNIE. And
yes.
sign up to my newsletter. Oh, if you sign up to my newsletter there now, you'll receive 9 habits, or 9 of the strategies that had a huge change in my life. And then any updates on courses, new blogs, all seminars.
Oh, your blogs are fantastic, Brian. And they also come with videos as well. Because, you know, now, like everybody's, just so many emails and stuff. So I find I would watch your videos much more than read somebody's blog, because there's so much stuff that you have to kind of sift through.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it's funny as well. So I'm doing a lot of audio blogs now as well. So it's really giving people the multiple platforms, because people are going jogging, they're listening. It's whether it's watching it, whether it's listening to it, whether it's reading it. Everyone has their different media input that they like to use. So it gives people the options, you know.
Yeah, so they got the best of all the world, so to speak.
Yeah.
So Instagram is your talk on Thursday, so we'll follow you on Instagram.
Oh no, so the talk on Thursday is a Zoom.
Okay.
You can access it through my Instagram. I think it's Pennie Brian 78 or Brian Pennie. You'll find Brian Pennie. It's only one Brian Pennie, and I think 2 in the world actually, because it's PIE. So on my Instagram, you can sign up for the link there. But I'll be on Twitter, LinkedIn, all platforms. But you can find all of. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find that all through my website as well.
So definitely the website is the best place to go. And Brian, where can people get a copy of this book? Because we are just raving about it. I mean, I said I finished it about a week ago, and my instinct was just pick it up and read it all over again. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it's like, I feel like I know you all my life now from reading your book.
I love you saying that. That's lovely. That's beautiful.
No, that's genuine. I was like I was meeting you again today for like a cup of coffee after reading your book. It was so from the heart. I loved it. You know.
Thanks so much. So the best place to go would be on the website as well, and you can buy it. So Ireland, I think try to buy Irish at the moment. So you can buy it on Easton. So if you go to the website, or Easton's website, or my website, you find the Easton's link there. And it was also released as an audio book today, out of the blue. I didn't even know about it. So
there you go. So it's hot off the press.
It's hot off the press on Amazon, Google Play, all of the audio retailers. It's with all of them at the moment. And you can as a library book on I forget Box Blogger or something like that. So you can rent
one of the digital books.
Yeah,
you can buy
or even an audio. I think it's like an audio library where you just rent it out, but you don't keep it, but it's a lot cheaper.
Oh, okay. I never knew that. And I know my friend Marie McKay is mad into, Marie that we both know. She's mad into audiobooks, and she has a copy of this book ordered, but it's lost somewhere in some
Amazon
sorting station. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, because of it. I tell her to cancel that actually.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell her to cancel that and go with
the audio instead.
Or even cancel that and go for Easton's if she wants the hard copy book.
Yeah, because I was going to post her my copy, and she was like, no, I'll wait for it to come. So now if she wants to access it tonight, she can log on and get the audio.
Log on, there it is, straight away.
So Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I mean, we could literally talk for hours, couldn't we?
Forever.
Forever. And hopefully our paths will cross soon. You can definitely sign me up for your program anyway, whenever you get that going.
Super. Appreciate it, Jenny.
Keep us updated on your Facebook or your social media when we can hope to see that course coming soon.
I will indeed. I will
I'll be
indeed.
following you now on Instagram, watching your talks as well on the Thursday evening. So looking forward to
Cheers.
that. Okay.
Thanks a lot. It was an absolute pleasure. I loved it.
Yeah, thanks very much, Brian. Have a lovely
See you
evening.
later.
Take care.
Bye bye.
And
See you
God
now.
bless.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.